in a move that literally nobody saw coming, and one that induced an almighty why, alongside plenty of huh and what noises. Civilization 7 is coming to a VR headset near you in 2025. Yep, the Civ 7 VR edition was hilariously unveiled during today's Civ Creator World Summit livestream event with Caesar's bust VR headset revealed. And the crowd were actually pretty excited, right?
I have another announcement. Every single person here gets their own Meta Quest 3 headset today, so...
Well, that was nothing in comparison to the Oprah Winfrey moment when Oprah entered the chat. You get a VR headset, you get a VR headset, everyone gets a VR headset. Back to the reveal though, where the first thought on surely everybody's mind, and certainly everybody down in the YouTube comment section, was, no wonder the UI is so bad. VR? What is going on? Let's break it down as a follow-up from yesterday's What's Going On with Civ 7 video. Something else is going on. It's VR Civ 7. The very brief Civ 7 VR trailer shows a mixture of cinematic shots, leader portrayals, and some actual gameplay. The gameplay and leaders obviously look worse than the PC version, but the leaders probably beat out the Switch version. At the end of the trailer, we learn that Playside is handling the VR side of things for Civilization 7, and they've had VR experience in the past, so it's not their first rodeo. During the Creator Summit livestream, they revealed some more details that you'll probably want to know. They're pretty relevant to the story. They're also inside of the trailer. As we learn, it's launching later in 2025, running VR or mixed reality, and exclusively to the Meta Quest 3 and the slightly cheaper, more budget version of that headset, the 3S. I was, without a lie, totally and utterly blindsided by this Civ 7 VR announcement. It's something I hadn't even considered as a remote possibility. Everyone's been speculating what a future age might bring or contain. Meanwhile, bam! They drop a Civ 7 in VR trailer. I wonder what Civ 7 feels like in VR. How long a game could you play with that thing strapped to your head? I don't know. The barriers to entry here also mean that for most people, this will be seen more as maybe a kind of distraction, a kind of gimmick, at a time where Civ 7, as we discussed yesterday, is under fire for its advanced access, not early access, period. Under fire, of course, for a load of things, mainly the rushed, inadequate UI, failing to share enough information as you go through the game, and at times not really looking any good, as well as, of course, missing setup functions, map options. We've already talked about that. Layer on top of that, though, a version of Civilization that has a high financial cost, right? I think it's about $300 for the S model of the Quest 3. The big bad boy, the actual Quest 3, you're looking at probably a little under double that, though regional pricing varies. Obviously, this means that the market for Civ VR is really relatively small, but not totally insignificant. Sales estimates are a little bit difficult to find. You can find that millions of their headsets have been sold, but specifically the 3 and 3S, it seems as though it's probably over 1 million in the US, though again, difficult to track down. Important to note here that the Quest 2 was one of the cheapest headsets available and also one of the most popular, so it's entirely probable that the Quest 3 will eventually follow in those footsteps as well. It's also pretty unclear to me whether the Civ VR version will eventually come to other VR headsets, because of course that would at least go some way to stretch it out to a broader group of potential players should they be interested in actually playing it. Trying to find some value and significance, of course, in it here. VR headsets like PSVR, right, on the PlayStation, because PlayStation players are playing Civ 7 right now. Or the many other PC options. I don't know. On the whole, then, it seems like Civ 7 VR will be a very specific product for a very small group of possible players. But also, of course, it will be a very, very unique product. The gameplay looks like it could be struggling a bit just from the few shots on it inside of the trailer, and I wonder how smooth it is, because that will matter a lot too, I'm sure, inside of VR. The wide pan glossy shots in the trailer, though, I must admit they do look pretty awesome. That control and command at a grand scale, that kind of Civilization board game in your living room, this massive big diorama, you know, that part looks really cool. What's also really cool is the level of support you've shown the channel over the last few weeks. Thank you very much again. We broke that 100,000 subscriber goal just in time, and now we're surged beyond it, absolutely surged beyond it. So thank you very much. I'll keep working for you for as long as I possibly can on this kind of coverage. Speaking of this kind of coverage, and in a brief moment, to just quickly cover some other news. One thing I omitted from yesterday's update video was the very small patch update that rolled out. You can see what it was really all about on your screen. Ultimately, not a lot, right? Essentially just 2 fixes, one of them for Mac users. Obviously very important fixes because they were rolled out very quickly, which is maybe a good sign, but ultimately, of course, a very small sign. We are clearly in the early days yet for Civilization 7. Currently, we're also waiting on Firaxis to release the development roadmap for Civ 7 and the promised updates to multiplayer, city naming, etc. Firaxis have indicated that both of those will be coming soon, though we don't know when that soon will actually be. So, to answer the question, why VR? Why? Well, it appears as though there is a market out there, but it's really a subsection of a subsection, at least as far as I can tell. The unveiling of Civ in VR is, of course, a new milestone for the franchise, one that expanded out drastically under Civilization 6, right? You've got a mobile version, you've got the free Netflix games mobile version, you've got console, PC, Mac, you name it, it was there. Civ had done it all, we thought. Although, I guess, in that sense, it is reaching a new height, and this is probably a kind of optics play from that perspective as well, right? The Civ approach to Skyrim coming to a smart fridge near you kind of domination of all of the different platforms that you could possibly think of. Unfortunately, of course, the timing really is not great, coinciding with the backlash around the game feeling unfinished. Confused priorities is the message that is being spread by this announcement. I suspect the role of Playside in the development of Civ 7 VR will be emphasized in future, at least it ought to be, else it feels like they've chosen a few over the masses. So what do you think? Civilization 7 in VR, a distraction? An exciting piece of news. Certainly looks like something I would be interested to try, though like many of you, I don't see it taking the place of my wonderful PC, or perhaps console, sitting next to me. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, this look at some interesting news for Civilization 7 VR, as well as quickly that first patch update. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.